Hey guys, it's Lisa and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to make over an item and we're going to start with this trunk. I got this given to me by a friend. They used it in her classroom at school and put little treasures in it, I guess, for the kids to earn, and they no longer needed it. So she gave it to me, and I decided to make it over, and I have taken the hardware off of it, and I even took some of the veneer off where it was pulling away so that it would be smooth, and I know that I'll get some bleed through if I don't give this a coat of a primer. And so what I used here was a product called Boss, and that's a Dixie Belle product. But you could even just use a clear coat on it, and any kind of clear coat to make it not bleed through. But that Boss product really works well, so that's what I used. I did one coat of that. And now I'm making some molds to go on it because I want to really frill this up. And the air dry clay that I'm using here is the DAS clay. And as far as value goes and how it works, overall, I think this clay I've been happier with than the other. So this is what I use most of the time, and I'm just using my little tool that comes with my transfers here to smooth this down. And I said before that when I try to do this using any kind of tool straight up and down, it tries to drag it out of the mold, but when you lay it down like this, it really works well. So I make all my molds up because I'm going to need several for this one. And this is the trim mold from Redesign. So once I get those done, then I'm just going to glue them around the bottom of the lid, and then around the top of the base on the bottom, if that makes sense. And I feel like that will add enough to dress this up. And I'm using Titebond here, and I'm gluing them on while they're still wet because I find that works really well if you just make your molds and go ahead and glue them on. And you can wait overnight to paint them, but I learned from a viewer that you can glue them. That you can paint them almost immediately after you put them on. So I usually don't wait over about 30 minutes unless it's just easy for me to wait overnight. But usually I'm in a hurry, and I just go ahead and paint them. So once I get these all glued on, then I'm going to use the color Tea Rose on this. And with this primer on, it only takes one coat of that. And then I do let that dry overnight because after I put that on and let it dry, then I'm going to use some white wax on this. And I don't think I even filmed that, but like I said, once I get this painted and covered well and then let it dry well, then I just brush some wax on, white wax with a wax brush, and then wiped it off. And that settled down into all the detail in the trim, which was another reason I wanted to add the trim. And it lightened this color and gave it more dimension. But then, like I said, it really made that trim stand out, all the little designs in the trim. But I am going to be adding some transfers to this. And obviously, I need to do that before I do the white wax. So once I get this covered and let it dry well, then I'm ready to add some transfers. And I'm just, like I said, this is from the set Vintage Post. And I'm just cutting different ones that I think will work well. And then this stamp here called Kindest Regards, which is an IOD stamp. I'm just going to kind of place it different places on this. I'm lightly inking it because I just want somewhat of a background. So I'm going to stamp that some on the top and some on the side, and just kind of, I'm building some layers here. So like I said, I don't want this to be dark at all. I'm just going to very lightly stamp this. And then that will be somewhat behind some of the transfers. And these transfers are made to cut apart, so I just kind of cut where I felt like that would fit right, but not give me any straight or blunt edges. And now I'm just randomly placing some of these transfers. And now that I have all these transfers on that I want, then I'm just going to take some sandpaper and very lightly distress this. I don't want a lot of distress. I just want to hit some of those high edges. And then it will be ready for my white wax. And like I said, I don't do that on camera. I thought I was doing it on camera, but somehow I missed that. I just, like I said, lightly distress this and brush some white wax on it and just kind of gently wipe that off. And then this will be finished once I get my hardware back on. And I did decide to put the handle that was on the front. I felt like it was just too large for the front. I did decide to put it on the top and then paint it the same color. And then I'll white wax that also. And then I took my IOD typesetting stamps and put her name on it. And as you can see there, I put a little keyhole mold on the front. I don't know how I missed that either, but I had a little keyhole mold, and I glued that to the front before I finished. And then I like how that one turned out. I think it's going to be a good size for her. And now I'm making over some of these mirrors. And this gold it's hard to tell here, but it's not in good shape at all. It's missing some color here and there, and none of these are really good mirrors. There, as you can see, there's a lot of the silver wearing off the little one. And then this one, I guess this one is in the best shape, but it's gold, and I don't care for that either. So I'm going to paint two of these in the color Buttercream. And then, and this one here has the magnified mirror on one side and then just the regular mirror on the other. So I'm going to kind of make over both of these. So like I said, I give these 2 coats. 2 of these of the color Buttercream, and then the largest one there in the color Caviar, which is just a dull black. And then I just take a razor blade when this is dry and scrape all the paint off the mirrors. And that's just easier for me than trying to tape that off, especially since you have some round areas. They're just really hard to tape. So I give both of these 2 coats and let them dry well, and then they're ready for the next step. And I'm going to put some, I'm not going to really use these so much as a mirror as I am just some decor. So I decided to put transfers on the mirrors. So I'm just kind of finding some transfers that fit, and then I'll put those on the mirror. And with this one, I didn't like the way the top of this transfer looked after I was finished with it. So I layered another small one over the very top of this one, and I was happier with the way that turned out. And then once I get these transfers on these, then I'm also going to be adding some white wax. So this black works really well with white wax when there's some decor or design in it, rather, because it settles into the white wax settles into the detail, and you can see here you don't really notice it so much, but once you put that wax in there, it really pops that detail. So you just take a little wax brush and you just kind of brush it down in there, and I think I'm even using a stencil brush here just to really get it down in that detail. And then I do small sections because I'm always afraid if I wet it too much and it stays wet too long, it might reactivate that paint. And so I don't try to do a whole lot I don't try to do the whole mirror and then wipe it off. I like to kind of work quickly with this. So, and when I brush it, or when I wipe it off, I try not to use a whole lot of pressure because you don't want it pulling any of your paint off. And as you can see, it really makes that design pop. And I like how that turned out. And now for the second mirror, I'm gonna add a transfer to it also. As you can see, I've added my hang tags here. But for the second one, I'm going to find another little design that will fit and put that on the glass. And this one is the one that has two sides. So I'll put a transfer on the magnified side that covers the whole thing. And then for the regular side, I'll just put a little bit of a transfer at the top and the bottom, and that way if they need to use it or want to use it for a mirror, then they'll be able to do that. So the reason that I'm putting these on, looks like upside down, is because these have had a hole drilled in them on the handle, and my plan is either that they are hung on the wall or they are put on a plate rack, so or a plate stand. So either way, this side I'm doing right side up in case they want to use it for a mirror. But on the other side, which will show if it's put on the wall or on a plate stand, so I added white wax to that one also, and now I'm adding white wax to my third one. And I'm just brushing this on really good, and then when I go to take it off, my plan was to just give it a lot of pressure and let it distress all that detail because there was a lot in there. And obviously white wax is not going to show up good on this, so that didn't pull it off. So I decided to use my stamp pad. I have a Stays On ink that's just a dark brown, and I decided to just kind of brush that very lightly across the high areas and distress it that way, because obviously I can't sand this to distress it because I don't want the raw metal showing. So I got some of the wax on the mirror here, so I'm going to have to take some alcohol and clean that off well before I do my transfer on, because the transfer won't stick to this wax. But here I am taking my ink pad and just very carefully and lightly touching here and there and just slightly brushing it across, and that will catch some of those high spots and then give this a good distress. And then I went ahead and did that same thing to the other white mirror to add some distress to it. And I think that added more to this. I hadn't planned on doing that with this one, but once I saw what it did to the other one, I just decided to go ahead and add it here as well. And I found a transfer in that set that almost fit this one, actually did fit this one perfectly. Now all my mirrors are finished, and then I'm ready to move on to the next item. And I thrifted this silver plate tray, still in the box, never had even been opened or taken out. So, but even though it hadn't, it still got some gold coming through. So this is not a real piece, or not real silver rather. So it's a perfect tray to do what I plan on doing with this one, because it has so much design and detail. But I wanted to make sure that my paint sticks well, and so I decided to do a coat of slick stick on the top and the bottom of this. Now you could use any kind of a primer base to this to help it stick well. You could even use a clear spray of some kind, but sometimes I paint directly onto my silver, but this is just one that I really wanted to make sure that I took all the necessary steps to make sure that it did well, because this one has so much of this detail on. So I'm mixing up the color Caviar, which is just a dull black, with a product called Sea Glass, and it is a paint texturizer. So I mixed this a little thick here, and I intended to mix it thick because I want lots of I know that there's a lot of detail here, and I have to be careful in putting this on the detail that I don't take away from that detail. But I'm kind of pouncing this on because I do want a lot of texture here. Now, a lot of times I'll just mix half baking soda and half paint, and it works really well as a texture, to add texture to your paint. But I just had this product that I got with my starter kit when I first started using Dixie Belle, and I hadn't ever used it all, so I just decided to go ahead and use it up. But I'm just kind of pouncing this texture on here, and I know this looks like a lot of texture, and I kind of go back over it and somewhat smooth it down, but I really, really want a lot of texture on this, because I'm going to be going back over this once it's dry well with with white wax. And as you can see here, the difference that makes, and had I just brushed that on without texture, I would get all this detail, all this pretty white in the detailed areas, but on the flat surface it would just be black, and it would be a little bit milky black. But this really shows up on the black when you add some texture, and then you get all that design even on the flat area, and it just really makes a big difference. So if you've never tried using white wax on a textured black, you really should try it, because I love the look of it. So again, I used the white wax on the top and the bottom, and I just really love how this one turned out. And as you can see, all that texture with the white wax in it just really made a big difference in this. Now, I'm not going to get to do my little Christmas add-on to this video because, like I said before, I've been behind, so I really wanted to get a video out. And but I'll make up for it. I've still got plenty planned to do. I'm hoping to get to post one of those again tomorrow. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great evening, and God bless you and your family.